y'all. Welcome. It is your toasted host with the most on the North Sea coast, Otis Galloway. Welcome to the Cannabis Tourism Chronicles on KGL TV, here where we get to discuss with a lot of lovely human beings their contributions to the world of cannabis and cannabis tourism and a sustainable economic future for the flower. And today we have a guest that is dealing with a subject that is near and dear to my heart because my lovely wife, she cannot do the combustibles. So this gentleman deals in alternate beverages and specifically THC beverages. So this is a person who is putting the high in hydrate, ladies and gentlemen. So I want you, the listening audience and the watching audience, to be upstanding and welcome my guest, Steve Lezcano, who's going to discuss cannabis beverages with us today. Steve, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Oh, that is awesome to have you here. We were backstage discussing, and our producer, Kelly, said that you need to illuminate people on your alter ego, and I think that was a cracking alter ego. So let the people know who you are when you are not Steve.
So yeah, my company, besides being in the alternative beverage space, we come from the cannabis space. So my IG cannabis industry personality is Warren Puffett.
I love it. I go by myself, Afro Vader, the Red-Eyed Jedi, but that is I don't want the Lucasfilm people after me though. I want Disney after me. But I'm telling you, man, Afro Vader he's a cool customer, far cooler than myself.
I can see that.
But so Steve, I mean, this is like I said, this is a subject that's really near and dear to my heart because my lovely other half is not a combustible consumer. It's always leaves her feeling a little out of sorts. So and here you are, bringing some of the goody good, but putting it into the beverage format. So tell me, how did you get to this point in your life?
So I was in the cannabis industry for a bit where I was managing marketing and like SMS, MMS marketing, loyalty for dispensaries. But in my previous life, back in my college days, I did event promotion, nightclubs and stuff like that growing up in Miami. So at some point during my career in the corporate side of the cannabis space, I decided to, with one of my partners, start an event company and start doing some events. And that led us down a whole rabbit hole of opportunities, which has been great. And we developed a few different events that have become annual events and mostly catering to the cannabis space, the more traditional, what you'd expect out of cannabis events. But as we were doing that, we got so many brands were hitting us up, especially over the past few years, wanting to sponsor our events, and they were beverages. And, if you're at a party, there's only so many beverages you can have sponsoring a party. So we had to turn a lot of beverages away, but we took note of it. And then after meeting a few of these new beverage brands, we started realizing that a lot of them, they want to enter like the Florida market in specific because we're down here, and they're asking us questions and they really need a lot of intel, and everybody seems to be gatekeeping. So we were like, there's a lot of work to be done in this beverage space. So kind of putting all these things together, we decided to start Alt Bev Expo, which is a trade show that is B2B and B2C and focuses just solely on the non-alcoholic beverage space, which could include energy drinks and coffees and everything else. But given our background, it was really fueled by the THC beverages.
Nice. I mean, it's become, I've been watching and just observing, and the beverage market is exploding for cannabis. It is it's a fast growing market. do you see like especially where you are in Florida, and you've got Orlando, you've got Miami, you've got Daytona, you've got quite a few cities down there. Are you seeing a lot of competition within Florida, just within Florida?
Brand wise, yeah. So I would say, yeah, there not only is Florida a market that national brands are interested in, but for some reason, which I haven't quite put my finger on, a lot of brands are based in Florida, even if they're not focused on the Florida market. I'm not really sure why. I mean, we have great weather and it's a great place to do business, but I've been surprised myself. And like the more I've dug in, the more and more I find brands that have, their headquarters in Miami or Central Florida. There's a ton of them. So I haven't quite really figured out why they decided to base themselves here, except maybe it's just because they anticipate this being a burgeoning market and they just want to be here on the ground floor.
Yeah. I mean, now correct me if I'm wrong, because from what I understand, it's still sort of like cannabis is still in flux in Florida. It's not been like, it's medical been legalized, but recreational hasn't been legalized yet, has it?
Yeah, correct. So there are no medical THC beverages. It's all traditional THC. So it's all hemp derived, but the hemp derived market has absolutely exploded. And what we're finding is that even the brands on the licensed THC side that are working within dispensaries, they're creating beverages, hemp-derived beverages to put out on the market at large and finding a lot of success there.
Nice. But the thing I'm noticing, and I think it's absolutely wonderful, and I love the attitude of a lot of entrepreneurs, is that a lot of people, especially in areas where it's sort of a legal gray area, they're just bashing ahead with it. And, I'm watching the like dispensaries start to proliferate and people are becoming more and more open and a lot of people are coming out of the closet. And I think that only serves to really make the community stronger just by that. I mean, that natural defiance. I know I kind of like, I'm like fingers crossed, I'm worrying for him, I'm rubbing rabbit's feet, but I'm loving the vibe that I'm seeing with it. It feels like we're on like a very peaceful revolution is taking place, as far as cannabis is concerned. And with the community, is like everybody's really embracing and really pushing forward, especially those who have a good product,
Yeah, it's always a scary environment with the regulations as they are and constantly in flux. This topic has been used as a political pawn for so many years that it's almost like they can't help themselves. So I see on a daily basis that push back in the other direction by legislators and, different special interest groups. Obviously, the alcohol space has taken a pounding this past year. So some of the alcohol brands have pivoted and embraced having THC or other just non-alc mocktail type of zero proof as they, as the nomenclature that seems to be preferred these days. But the brands that haven't made that pivot for whatever reason, sometimes they're just too small and they don't have the capital. They definitely are pushing back. So I'd say on our side, we're pushing forward and we want to break the taboo. We want to show, regulators that there is a strong desire to, have what we all say we love, which is freedom here. The state likes to call, even within the land of the free, they like to call Florida the free state of Florida. And I think that we as an industry and as a culture and a community want to challenge them on that and make sure that they're really, walking the walk. If they want a free state of Florida, it has to be free in this regard, which is allow adults to consume a product that is demonstrably less problematic than other products that are free. They're free to consume, and we want them to be free to consume, but they should also be allowed to consume a less dangerous and a less problematic product if they so choose. And we're not going to stop. Whatever push back we get, we're just going to keep forging forward, because we've seen this with all forms of prohibition. This is the side that, the future is we're the side of the future. And, we gotta keep the dinosaurs kind of evolving.
I was, it's really funny because, everybody, when we look to like the United States, and of course, Colorado was like the first state to make it legal. And then, where I used to live, Massachusetts, they made it legal. And then, we saw like state by state where it's becoming more and more, the momentum is growing. But the other day I was reading and I saw that Alabama has medical dispensaries. So is this like, are you seeing through your travels in the South, are you seeing like a lot of, the cannabis, the cannabis industry, the cannabis community is starting to really get some serious momentum? Because I'm hearing stuff out of Georgia about the potential for it to become legal there as well as, and like a couple of other states are really deeply considering it. So I'm loving the vibe that's happening down there, because that's a really, the South is a really, and I have a lot of relatives down there, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. So this is for me quite exciting to see these things kind of happen. Are you like catching the vibe and seeing what's going on?
There's definitely, like everywhere else, there's definitely a big push among the people, including in the South, to end the regulation on this stuff, or to scale it back and allow adult use. I'd say that there's still the taboo in certain segments of the population. And that's really what the South is fighting, and where I'd say like places like Colorado and California and Massachusetts and Michigan, where they're kind of ahead of the game, is getting in front of that taboo. So we still see the taboo in the South, but slowly but surely it's fading away, especially when you have populations like seniors. That's one population that I think is super exciting, that is starting to embrace it as a medicine, because they're on all kinds of medication. As you get older, we all start needing more and more of this kind of stuff, and start realizing, man, cannabis fits the bill in a lot of ways that other things don't. And especially when you have things like beverages, where now I don't even have to worry about the effect on my lungs or my breathing, if that's what the concern is. Now it's just sipping a beverage. It becomes really compelling to at least give it a try.
Yeah, I mean, you really right there. You struck a chord with me, because myself, as I'm getting a bit older, the check engine lights are popping up on the dashboard for me. So I was seeing a lot of that. Yeah, the joint pain. I get up now, I sound like a roll of bubble wrap. Getting out of bed, but it's lovely to see. And like I said, especially the beverage, like a vehicle, I think is so good, because it's like you come home and it's like, if it's a hot day, you can have something cool to drink, or you could have it in a tea form. I mean, the possibilities like are so large in that
limitless
field, that it is very exciting. It's
limitless, really, and it can be everyone consumes something, so it can be incorporated into coffee. And there's even water soluble things that are completely flavorless, just meant to mix into your water. So there's really no limit to it. And then when you add in a state like Florida with so much tourism and recreational activities, when you add possibilities like RTD drinks or spirits, even mixable spirits at bars and restaurants and nightclubs and venues, it really becomes limitless. And it just makes it so that more people can enjoy their time out without necessarily consuming alcohol or something else that they don't want to consume. Nothing against alcohol. I have a drink here and there as well. But, when I go to a hockey game, I'd like to consume something other than alcohol because I gotta function, and I don't function as well on alcohol as I do with a THC beverage,
That's
or
true. Yeah.
You don't wake up feeling as clear for sure.
Most definitely. I mean, I do both myself, but
Yeah.
I cannot agree more with you. We're going to take a pause for the cause, and we're going to come back to that topic and see what's going to happen, and maybe try to like a crystal ball in the future. You're watching Cannabis Tourism Chronicles, and we'll be right back after this.
One of the biggest areas for growth in the cannabis industry is actually cannabis hospitality. And did you know you could start your own business for under $5,000? Allow me to take you through my mentorship program to receive your cannabis hospitality stewardship certificate, where we're going to allow you to understand this plant in a way in which you can actually shepherd the plant to people. And not only a way to start a new career, but a way to actually enrich people's lives so they can use the benefits of cannabis to enhance their lifestyle. Please join me on this revolutionary journey.
Steve, so we earlier, and we mentioned, you had briefly mentioned about how, and I've noticed it here too, especially in Europe, because it's pretty significant, is there has been a decline in the consumption of alcohol, like right across the board. I mean, there's a lot of the younger generations aren't drinking as much. Older generations are starting to reduce their drinking. The alcohol industry is seeing a downturn, and the alternate beverage community is seeing a decidedly pretty decent upturn. Yeah. Do we see a future where big fish eats little fish, or do you think that the alcohol industry will kind of capitulate and maybe kind of join the bandwagon, and would we be seeing hybrid beverages at some point? I mean, a lot of people would prefer to keep it separate too, but do you see a future where sometimes there's like a kind of a team up between, like, say, a large brewery or a large independent brewery and a THC brand?
Oh yeah, that's happening big time right now. It's kind of all of the above, because there are big fish eating some of the little fish, and there are major companies that are rumored to be developing their own beverages, which I probably won't name, but because I don't know the veracity of the rumors, but
name it.
I've definitely heard that some, of the most major beverage companies are developing THC lines right now. So I think that they're absolutely going to do that, and it makes sense because, especially in the US, I don't know quite the environment in Canada, and elsewhere, but in the US, many states have a very controlled distribution system for the alcohol industry. And what that has caused is they have distribution buttoned up really well. So as these beverages are proliferating in THC space and other non-alc beverages, they can't compete on the distribution side with these distribution channels. So it only makes sense for them to go to those distribution companies, or for those distribution companies to buy them or create their own products, because they already have all these accounts in the restaurants and nightclubs and retail stores, convenience stores. So definitely there's no industry is ever going to be immune from that. The big fish that already have resources in place and structures are always going to jump on the new opportunities that pop up. So I think right now we're the big opportunity now for new startup beverages is get their feet under themselves, build something that is valuable to the market, and then go and find your partners out there in the market to get to the next level.
Indeed.
We did have all of those categories at the last Alt Bev Expo, and we're working on the next one. So we had energy drinks there, waters, teas, kombucha, a little bit of everything. And then some of the ancillary type of service providers like transportation companies and co-packers and packaging companies. It was just a gap in the industry that we wanted to fill. We had the network to fill. We saw the need and just figured we might as well do it. And then we come from like a more of a B2C space for our other events. So we just figured a lot of trade shows and stuff are super stuffy. So we wanted to build some fun into it and kind of bring some of the focus on aesthetics that we bring to our other events, the arts and things like that, and kind of meld all of our various resources. So that's what we did. It turned out great. With February, we had it in Palm Beach County Convention Center, and we're going to run it back in next February, bigger and better, working with more partners and stuff. So, you hit the nail on the head. At really any industry, the only people we box out is the alcohol, simply because there's plenty of shows for alcohol. So
they're so established. It begs belief. So tell us about. I'd like to expand because you mentioned other events. Like, can you tell us a little bit about the other events that you do too? Because that has got to be a pretty fascinating thing. Just because, like I said, you're pivoting in so many directions.
Sure. Yeah. So, we do events big and small. We collaborate with other event producers on events. And sometimes we pop up, to support other events and spread the word about ours. But our flagship event is Terp Basel in Miami, which is during Art Basel. We bring lots of art and various brands from across the world and fashion and it's a very cannabis friendly and forward environment. But, cannabis consumers they don't want everything. Not everything has to be cannabis. They want to experience events like everyone else experiences while being comfortable being a cannabis consumer as opposed to a big drinker or anything else. So that's really the environment we like to create. And Terp Basel is now on its 5th year, coming up in December. We have another series, some comedy that we do. Our branding under the comedy is Hits and Giggles. So we do a lot of stuff in the comedy space. And for that, like sometimes we're networking with comedians, and brands will help brands get gift packs to comedians and stuff and build up their content, or we'll help introduce a beverage to comedy clubs and stuff like that. So again, just utilizing our network. We'll work with Cannabis Lab, the trade organization, on beach cleanups in Miami, and we'll do stuff like that. Or we'll work with our partners down in Colombia on Sesh on the Beach, a big event that they do down there. That's a really amazing event. We actually did one in Miami last year as well. We work with, we do fashion shows sometimes, or like a couple of years ago, we worked with Tech9, the artist, on a 420 tour down the coast of California. And we brought some brands into that to get them the brand exposure and kind of connect those worlds. So we just try to be flexible and follow the opportunities and fill in needs where we see them. We pour as much love into the little events as we do in the big events, but little events obviously can't pull in as much revenue. So we've learned that we're better off just doing big events. We have the resources, the manpower to do big events and do them well. and we have the ability. So it's just better business wise to focus on the big ones. But yeah, we're looking at other markets. We're looking at the New York market hard, and Michigan is very enticing. Chicago is enticing. Maybe even Canada. So
maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we take another pause for the cause? And I think that'll be a good jump off point for us right after this. This is the Cannabis Tourism Chronicles. I'm here with Steve Lezcano. We're talking cannabis beverages. We'll be right back after this.
Educanation, a Canadian non-profit organization devoted to improving the quality of cannabis education and care across our nation and around the world. Educanation believes in continued education and support through the 3-tiered membership: cannabis education and outreach services, patient education and support through their holistic clinic model. Educanation, providing the highest standard of professional and responsible cannabis education. www.educanation.info.
Yeah, Canada is a frontier that I think he definitely, especially with the beverages, because it's something. There's a lot of really good magic happening up in Canada. Has a lot of what's been going on in Canada? Have you found a lot of inspiration from a lot of the your Canadian counterparts, or is it just the thing where you're kind of like self-motivated, but are you like feeling like a lot of good energy coming from Canada towards the cannabis community in the US?
Well, so when I was in the corporate side of the cannabis space here, working on like SMS marketing, I dealt with some Canadian counterparts, and I was really watching the market up there, and it was looking exciting. And then as we've gone more into events, honestly, I've seen nothing coming from up there. And I was wondering if it just like wasn't a thing. It was really talking with Kelly that piqued my interest again, because I love the stuff that she's got going on up there. And, that was very motivating for me. So that's what really made me come back to my team and say, we should give another look at Canada and see what we might want to do up there. That being said, one thing that we don't like to do in markets, especially like an international market, we don't want to go into a market and just try to as an outsider, just pick the bones and bulldoze locals. So we love working with people and that are local and doing something and just like taking part. So I think, hopefully at some point we could work with some of the people doing cool things in Canada and come up there and lend a hand and lend our resources to it.
I think that would be, tremendous. The only way we're going to move forward in this whole thing is if we're moving together, especially because no matter whether you're in the US or Canada or here in Europe, where we're still, it's just starting to happen. Germany legalized it, and there are other countries that are looking towards. Czech Republic is another one. And then medical is legal here in Scotland. Although it is, there's a lot of hoops you got to jump through, but still it's happening, and I'm seeing it. And more I'm seeing that there are people willing to stand up. I often think it would be great if we could have a few more people sort of on the celebrity side, not because they're celebrities, but mainly because they just draw a phenomenal amount of influence in people. And I think that because there's very few celebrities that are really open about it. You got maybe Seth Rogen and Snoop Dogg, and then there's a couple of other, maybe a few mentioned, but it's still, we're in that stage, and it's I don't know. We've got enough people in there that are influential, but I feel like it'd be nice if we can get a few people that's got some real grip in that arena.
That's a really astute observation and an interesting topic. We talk about that topic a lot. I'd say this about the celebrities. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Celebrities are great to bring influence, but you do have celebrities that came in on the cannabis side with brands, and they really weren't known for it, and or they didn't have a background. They didn't bring anything but their celebrity, and it didn't feel genuine.
Yeah, the authenticity wasn't there.
Yeah, so you've seen brands kind of flounder in the States, at least, you know, and I'm thinking like Justin Bieber had a brand.
Yeah,
you know, I think Justin
Bieber.
Yeah, he's great, but
what?
Nobody knew him for cannabis, and it wasn't like he didn't release the brand. If someone like that released a brand and then showed that they had a big grow and that they were diving into it and really like had a love of the plant, that's one thing.
Exactly.
Slapping your name on it is just doesn't work. A good example of one that's worked is Ricky Williams. Ricky Williams started Heisman brand. Well, this is a guy who gave up his NFL career and tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in the big picture, because he didn't want to pollute his body with opiates, and he was in so much pain. And the league let him use cannabis, and at some point he had to choose his body over league rules. So he's got a real story to tell, just like Snoop and Cheech and Chong and people like that.
Yeah, we're actually seeing it over here in the UK. It's a UK boxer by the name of Derek Chisora. It's gone very public. He's talked about the 50 fights he's had and the toll it's taken on his body. And he is a huge medical cannabis advocate. And him coming out to tell his story has had, and I love that, especially when you mentioned Ricky Williams, the sports guys, because there's a lot of athletes, especially in the NBA and the NFL, that have come out, and in particular the NFL, because of the proliferation of players suffering from CTE. And
exactly.
We're seeing that a lot. And it's a great segment. And I mean, sports beverages, THC infused sports beverages, that's another frontier upon which we can explore. But
so I'll give you another category that we're plugged in, and besides the comedians, which there are some comedians that are open about it. So that's one thing we love about that space. We're developing another event called Vert Basel. That's skateboarding focused, but that's going to be more like family friendly type of thing.
Yeah.
But we're finding that there are skateboarders, professional skateboarders, that are getting involved in non-alcoholic beverage space. So that's an avenue that we're exploring. Is some of those are going to be down to be, to have THC beverages as well. And, they're hitting their heads and they're doing an active sport. So that's an exciting, like, natural celebrity pairing.
Yeah, that's a match made in heaven. That's peanut butter and jelly, really, when you think about it. So tell us, where can we find you on the intertubes if we want to know more about what you're doing and all the good goods that you're bringing to us and letting us know about?
Yeah, absolutely. So both on IG and on LinkedIn and on websites, you could find Alt Bev Expo really easily. ALTBEV Expo, EXPO. We got the .com and the IGs and all that stuff. And then also Terp Basel is our cannabis side, TERPBASEL, terpbasel.com, and on IG. And you'll find plenty of stuff about us through those channels.
Nice. Now, I'm going to introduce a new segment, because it's just an idea I had off the top of my head, because I feel it's a connective tissue and it brings us all together. Stoner Tune, what's something that you absolutely love hearing when you get elevated?
Well, I guess when most of the time I'm watching YouTube, I'm doom scrolling YouTube. So I'd say the vast majority of my my elevated activity is just watching video after video. But I do have I'd say musically, I do have a definite reggae penchant. When I told you I promoted clubs back in the day, I started out, strangely enough, as the young 17-year-old white boy in Miami. Somehow I wandered into promoting reggae clubs. So that was my original musical love, was dance hall reggae back in the 90s, and that's kind of not changed over time. And now they're all making new albums. Buju has a new album that I'm super excited about. So I'd say that's my pleasure for the most part when I'm puffing.
It's always, yeah. I mean, reggae is such a good fallback. I'm myself more of like a jazz hip hop guy, but
Yeah.
Listen, I do love. I mean, my and growing up in the Caribbean, my actual reggae loves tend to be 1960s. A lot of lovers rock.
Oh yeah,
a lot of the stuff that came off of Trojan Records, because my dad had tons, like stacks of Trojan Records. So
yeah.
I mean, all of those guys, and Earl Aiken, and then you got like Gregory Isaacs and
Wow.
World, and yeah, I mean, I love anything coming out of Jamaica.
The Scatolites and Toots and the
Scatolites, Desmond Decker, Toots and the Maytals, all of that good stuff. Such good classic reggae that it just, because it's very upbeat, and I mean, come on. If it's got horns in it, man, it can never be bad.
Yeah, I love that. That's all. Funny enough, growing up down here, I grew up in the south part of Broward, north part of Miami, and it doesn't. Everybody's on that tune. Like, there's so many reggae events, and so many of those artists live down here. And I've had the pleasure over the years of meeting a bunch of them. Oh, funny enough, Rohan Marley lives here. He's not a music artist, but he played football, and he's one of the Marley brothers.
Yeah.
He's got a beverage. He's got a THC beverage. He's got a brand that's in the dispensaries here. So that's a good example of an artist that has really gotten behind a brand and worked a brand.
Yeah, because he used to play. I think he used to play for the Niners, actually. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was on the Niners for a while, and then of course his brother Damien has some things happening in that space as well.
Well, in the music space, Damien and Steven, and now Rohan's son YG Marley.
Wow,
he's blowing up. Skip Marley, there's a bunch of them.
Dude, it's the Marley dynasty.
Yeah, they all live. A lot of them live down here, which is cool. So we get to meet them at our events. I've dabbed them out, a lot of these guys, so it's cool. They're good guys.
Sweet. And that's a good note to end on, dabbing out the Marleys. Oh my goodness. Steve, I can't thank you enough for coming on to the show and giving us some of your time. My pleasure. Telling us all this good stuff that you're doing. And all I can say to you, man, is peace, prosperity, autonomy. May you continue to grow, and hopefully we'll all get together at some point and burn one down.
Same to you, man. I would love to come out to Scotland. That would be amazing for me.
Well, we would love to have you, man. And
that's where this round nose comes from. I got some little bit of Scottish somewhere deep in my roots.
You're around Honka. You're around Honka. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my pleasure to be Otis Galloway. It is his pleasure to have been Steve Lezcano. This is the Cannabis Tourism Chronicles on KGL TV. We are out. Peace, love, and hair grease. Deuces.